What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. All right, so the Minnesota Timberwolves live on to play in the 2024 Western Conference Finals. And the final score of last night's game was 105-100. And for the Minnesota Timberwolves, Anthony Edwards had 29 points, 10 rebounds, and 9 assists. Michael Conley had 14 points and 7 assists. Karl-Anthony Towns bounced back to have his best game in not just this series, but in several games, going back to the semis with 25 points in the contest, and Rudy Gobert did whatever he does. Anyway, the Dallas Mavericks squandered an opportunity to end this. And pretty much, in my opinion, you got to blame Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic. Don't get me wrong, other players, Kleber comes to mind, missed a lot of wide open shots. But being that Kyrie Irving and Luka Doncic are obviously the two best players on that team, the two only players that are able to create their own shots, break down defense and create their own shots, I was shocked at the shots that Kyrie Irving was missing, and the shots that they were settling for. Especially with Luka. Luka was sometimes taking some shots, man, that I thought were just they're makeable shots, but sometimes I think these guys are more concerned about being on ESPN highlight reels. Sometimes, I don't know, it's like the degree of difficulty these guys take with shots. Like, yeah, I understand it's nice to be in a highlight reel, but do you always have to take the leaning, one-legged, fading, high arching three-pointer with 1.3 seconds left on the clock? Do you have to always take these, But anyway, Dallas blew an opportunity to sweep this team. And I'm going to tell you something. I know this is going to sound weird. I know it's going to sound strange. I get it. But I can't help but think that Dallas blew a big game here. I know it sounds strange for a team to be up 3-1 and saying that, look, Dallas could easily come into Minnesota and win on the road. They've already done it twice, right? But this is why I'm a little bit concerned. Now, you could argue, Too Raw, Kyrie and Luka played bad, and they only lost by 5. What are the odds of them going shooting and playing as poorly as they did last night? I get that. And by the way, let's look at the numbers. Kyrie Irving had 16 points and 4 assists. Luka had 28 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists, but he did not play very well. I don't have the shooting percentages in front of me, but they were poor. Which goes to show you that sometimes numbers don't tell you the whole story. That's true. That they both simultaneously played poorly and then lost by 5. But at the same time, in the games in which they won, you had a game where Karl-Anthony Towns only went 0 for 8 from downtown, his worst shooting performance of his career from downtown, regular season and postseason. Anthony Edwards has had some terrible games. For the most part, he's not had a real dominant performance since that 44-point game, going back into the series against the Denver Nuggets. So, if you have a situation And plus, for the most part, Jason Kidd has outcoached Chris Finch in this series as far as the head coaches. And like Reggie Miller pointed out, a lot of people, I think a lot of us have observed this, why in the hell aren't the Minnesota Timberwolves making Luka Doncic work on defense? I mean, he's basically covering, for the most part, a guy who is an offensive threat and allows Luka to rest. Although I got to make a point here, there's a certain guy who plays for the Lakers who we've made that point before, but the media never ever point that out when he's playing. They never conveniently point that out when he's playing. But anyway, yeah, it doesn't make any sense. So what I'm saying is this. Only 4 times in the history of the NBA have a team been down 3-0 and forced a game 7. It happened in the 1951 finals. I think it was the Knicks and the Rochester Royals. It happened in 1993 when the Nuggets came back from 0-3 deficit to force a game 7 against the Jazz. It happened last year when the Celtics were able to force a game 7 against the Miami Heat, but lost. And it happened in 2003 when the Portland Trailblazers came back from 0-3 deficit to force a game 7 against the Dallas Mavericks. Now I had forgotten about last year, and I think I just either didn't know or forgot about the 51 finals. What I'm saying is that could conceivably happen in this series. Two of the last 3 games in this series are going to be at Minnesota. Minnesota could win game 5. Make it a 3-2 series. And we know Minnesota can win on the road. They did it against the Denver Nuggets the first 2 games. Actually, they did it on the road, and 3 of the 4 victories they had in that series were road victories at Denver. Games 1, games 2, and game 7. So that's why I'm concerned about Dallas. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm concerned. And Karl-Anthony Towns and Ant are due for good games, especially Cat. And maybe they make the adjustment and make Luka work on defense. Plus, there's always the unknowns in these series. So yeah, it's possible Minnesota could win the next 3 games. It's possible. It's not likely, but it's possible. And if they force a game 7 at Minnesota, who knows what could happen? But then again, Dallas could win on the road in game 5 and make all of this a moot point. But to me, Kyrie and Luka Doncic, they choked last night, man. They really squandered an opportunity to just put a stranglehold on those guys, knock them out, and focus on the Boston Celtics. Because now, the longer this series drags out, it doesn't always work this way, but the longer this series drags out, Boston gets more and more rest, and whoever wins this series is going to be a little bit tired. I mean, both teams are already showing signs of fatigue. Boston's had the easiest, cakewalk we've ever seen. Well, at least in the modern era, even easier than those Cavalier teams back in the 2000 teens. So anyway, that's all I got to say about this one, man. Tell me what you guys think.